Hey everybody, Josh here again. Welcome back to the channel, guys. We are in the garage today. I'm actually mid-project on the pair valve video, which you guys might have seen or might not have seen already if it hasn't come out yet. But since I have the DRZ in pieces, I wanted to get to tearing the carburetor out and installing an adjustable fuel mixture screw. So guys, I'm going to turn the camera around, and as you can see, the DRZ is already up on the lift and in pieces. Tanks off, seats off, plastics are off. And guys, we're going to pull the carburetor out here in a minute, and we're going to, there's a brass plug right down in here that we're going to drill out and pull out, and then we're going to remove the screw that's in there. And I bought a nice little, I think it's stainless actually, guys, fuel mixture screw that we're going to put in there. And that'll give us the ability, guys, to just adjust the fuel mixture while the bike is together without having to try to fit a screwdriver up in here and try to get it. It's really just a pain in the ass otherwise. Plus, honestly, from the factory, they don't want you messing with it. But from the start, guys, I've had a little issue where the the bike will sputter sometimes, or stall, just when it first starts up and things like that. And for everybody I've talked to, they said, hey, you better check your fuel mixture screw. It's probably the answer. So I'll get that screw put in, and then I get a little finer adjustment on the carburetor, hopefully solve that problem. So I'm going to set the camera up just in case there's something going on. But I'm going to get the carburetor out, and we'll go from there. Again, guys, if you were starting this job right from the beginning to pull your carburetor out, you would have to take the tank off, the seat off, some of maybe the plastics off, just to get in there to get that carburetor out. All right, guys, I've never taken a carburetor out of a DRZ before, but they're all pretty much the same. You just, start looking for whatever is in the way and start pulling it out. So we're going to start to just pull bits aside here and see if we can figure out where different parts are, but it looks like there is just the two clamps, one here and one here. It looked to be a Phillips head screw, and then it looks like there's some kind of electrical piece connected here, so we'll just back that off and leave that aside. But otherwise, I don't think there's much else holding it from coming out. So we're gonna grab a Phillips head and we'll get those out, and then we'll see if we can slide this off. There's actually, looks like there's two boots here, but so I'm not sure what those are. So guys, before I got too deep into connecting everything, making everything loose, I did go in and I took the throttle cables off of the connector here so that it would be easier to get them out. I figured that once I pulled it out, because there's a lot of length on these, it might have been more difficult to get those out on the other side. So I did it now, and now we can go back to the other side and start loosening screws. So guys, that cable right here came up to the wiring harness up here to this little plug here. So I just decided that let's pull it apart here now, and then I can work back down towards, instead of trying to unscrew it from the side of the carburetor. So I just unplugged it, and that'll make it easier to pull it out later. Alright guys, so I'm over at the bench again. I got the carb out. A little bit of a pain in the ass trying to pull it past the boots and stuff like that. It's going to be fun putting it back in, but basically here's the carburetor itself, guys, and then you can see on the bottom of the carburetor, here's our idle adjustment, right? And then there's two brass plugs here, right? Hopefully you can see those. There's one on the right, one on the left. The one that I'm touching now, that's the one where the fuel air mixture screw goes. So what we're going to do is, there's a little hole in the middle. We're going to drill that hole just a touch bigger. We're going to use like a sheetrock screw or something, get it in here, and then we're going to tighten it a little bit, and then we should be able to twist that right out. Once that's out, it'll expose a screw for us, and then we can replace it with this screw here. So you see this fuel mixture screw here. So then what that'll do is that one will actually protrude from the bottom of the carburetor, and then when we're riding the bike, or when we have the bike set up, we can actually adjust it while it's running, as opposed to trying to get a screwdriver up in that hole while it's running or whatever. But it'll give us the ability to adjust that fuel air mixture, and hopefully get rid of that little stumble I have at the beginning of the when I first start off from stops and stuff like that. So I'm going to get a couple rags out, get this a little bit, and then try to drill that hole really gently, pull out the brass plug, and then we'll get into putting it back together again. One other thing I did, guys, was I just taped up the intake and the exhaust port on the and the air intake and the fuel side of the carburetor, because I just didn't want to get any brass shavings or anything down in there that's going to end up in the motor or anything like that. So I just taped them off real quick so that when I drill that little bit of brass out of there, it's not going to make a huge mess and it won't end up inside the carburetor. Okay guys, so we drilled into the brass plug. I got a sheetrock screw stuck in there now that we can do that. And basically guys, once you put that screw in, I'm going to try to show you one-handed here, but you can tighten it and that plug will move a little bit. So now that it's in there, all I'm going to do is grab a pair of pliers, grab the end of this, just twist like I'm tightening the screw down, and just pull that plug right out. And guys, here you can see that's the plug that I just pulled out of there. And now, I don't know if you'll be able to see it guys, but you can see down in there's a flathead screwdriver here. And that's the screw that we're going to back out. So, and as we back it out, we're going to count the number of turns so we know where it kind of was, so that we can get close to where it's adjusted to now, and then do our fine adjustments later. Once the motorcycle's all back together, I get a chance to warm it up, things like that. Alright guys, I think it's important to show this here. So we have, this is our new fuel air mixture screw. This is the stock screw, and if you can see, there's two washers and a spring. And they give you in the instructions guys, it shows you that pattern of how they go. So basically it goes spring, metal washer, rubber washer, and that's how it gets installed back in. I also, like I said, I bottomed that screw out and counted the turns when I bottomed it out, and I was at about 2 1/4. So that when I put the new screw in, I can bottom it all the way out and then back it out 2 1/4 turns, and I'll know that's about where it was adjusted when I took the carburetor out. Then we can get everything back in the bike, and then at some point when I warm the bike up later, I can adjust the screw and hopefully get rid of that little stumble I had at the bottom. Alright guys, so we got everything back in. There's the new fuel air screw. Like I said, I can see that now, like if I want to reach in when the bike is running or whatever, to give a little bit minor adjustment there. Now, one thing I just noticed on this screw that I don't like is there is no reference mark, so you don't know how much you've turned it either in or out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to just make a mark on this screw across like that. So now I can count the number of turns that I did as I go to open and close the screw. I mean, you could also take a file and maybe notch this a little bit and maybe put a notch here on the side of the carburetor body too. So you could do that if you wanted to. But for now, for my purposes, a Sharpie will work. And then once it's on there, I can make those fine adjustments in and out and just hear the motor and see how it's running. All right, guys. Carburetor's on a DRZ. Let's put it this way. I hope I don't have to take them out all that often. So the trick I learned, guys, to get this one off is this rubber boot here is pretty flexible. So it's to pull this one back as much as you can and get it out of the way. Then it gives you just enough room to kind of get this carburetor back into place. You slide it into the front, tighten the clamps down for here, then put this one back on after the fact. So it's really the only way to do it that I've seen to make it easier. Again, you got to make sure you route your wires back up through and stuff like that. But as far as getting the entire carb in and out, was not very fun there. So, but that's going to do it, guys, for this video. So I put the new screw in. Like I said, we're going to get the bike started up and we're going to play with that fuel air mixture and hopefully get rid of that stumble that I had where it would stall out or stumble right down low at the very first, like you go to crack on the throttle and it would just stumble and stall out sometimes. So until the next one, guys, you stay safe.